Cool guys. So thanks to everyone for jumping on this, the 25th class crawl. Appreciate everybody playing along with us. It's going to be an interesting one. I've made that joke way too many times. But because it's going to be a little bit different, just want to give you guys a little glimpse of what what Sunday is going to look like. So I'm going to share my screen really fast, and we'll do like a little something. Cool. So for class crawls, it's going to be this Sunday from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m. is the official event. The big there's some big changes though, in particular, that are going to look a little bit different. So we're not going to be giving structured tours. We're not going to be pairing people with tour guides. Instead, we're taking a little bit different approach. And that different approach is going to kind of look like this. So Ryan has drawn up this map for us. Oopsies. If you can see this map of campus on here, you'll notice that in the ledger, the key, there is class crawl parking. Fees have been waived to folks, so that would go, I suppose, you know, staff, you guys could park in these places, I suppose, on that day as well if you needed to. But it's the circled lots and visitor parking structures. Also on this key, you'll see that there's class crawl information tents. So this is where volunteers are going to come in, our staff that are being trained today. So every place that you see one of these little denoted tents that Ryan has dictated on the map, that indicates that we're going to have 2 people underneath an information tent. And that information tent is going to be there to give people some basic information, directions, hand them a map if they need it. You can point in different directions if you'd like. I've prepared like a little box for each of the sites that I'll share with you guys here in a little bit. But each site will also have like a little box with some material. So what I'm hoping to do actually right now, because this hasn't been done yet, is I want to get a little bit of an idea of where we want to put people. So I've got a key if you can follow this at all. So we're going to have a total of 16 staff. The idea was about 4 people per department between SAC, Res Life, DOS, SEP, 4 people. I've got 2 people as sort of a rover. We can trade this out. Ryan, I know your team has a mule that's functioning, correct? And Jose, depending on if Jose's mule is functioning, we can put Jose driving the SEP mule as a rover. If you're comfortable with that. Rover's intention is basically, hey, we're out of maps. Rover can bring those over on the mule, or we're out of face masks, something like that. And also, if we just are getting like a huge influx of people to try and help us just manage whatever we can. So, but otherwise, I've got these different spaces. I put just Lisa and Olivia. I think it's better if we probably try our best to keep staff who will often work with each other together, right? Just for the sake of, not that I don't want everybody to cross-pollinate, you know, it's a collaborative event, but, you know, Wayne's 2 staff or Jose's 2 staff who might have already seen each other recently or might be more likely, just so we're having, you know, taking precautions. So I had paired Lisa and Olivia. I can pair, and I put you guys at the Dane Smith Hall traffic circle, which I'm gonna, if you can.
Hey Greg, can you just let Kayla? She's in the weight room. If you could just.
Oh, sorry, Kayla, come in. I hate the waiting room. I'm terrible with it. Hey Kayla, if you once your sound comes up. Hey Kayla, sound check.
When we were sent home in March, that.
Sorry for letting you hang out in there for too long.
Do this, and I was constantly calling Justin.
Kayla, you still there?
Justin, help me with this. Help me with
yeah,
this.
go to mute her. We're in the orientation leader too. So.
Okay, cool, gotcha. So
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. It's okay. No sweat. You guys are doubling up. We appreciate you being here. So I've got so Lisa and Olivia. What that would look like, the location that I would have you guys at, is essentially this tent right here at the traffic circle. If you can see, can you guys see my screen?
We're not showing your screen any longer.
Oh, perfect. So sorry, guys. Share screen. So this traffic circle right here for Olivia and Lisa, that's where I would have you guys if you're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Like I said, Ryan And Jose, we're not sure about the mule yet, right?
Our mule is good to go. I don't know about orientations.
Okay.
So we can load up tents and tables and stuff and ship them around at least for a portion. So.
Okay. I know Jose is on campus today. He and I got to chat a little bit this morning, and he's getting supplies ready. He's got 4 tents, 7 tables, right? Thumbs up, Jose?
Yeah, we'll have, we have up to 6 tents and tables and chairs, and so I'm gonna get those moved over to Dose this morning.
Hey, Jose, if you don't mind, do you mind just doing the 6 tents? Because a couple of the tents that we have are 10 by 20s and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'll bring one of our 10 by 10s, and that'll get us up to the 7 then.
Okay, yeah. I'm 90% sure there's 6 really
Okay.
good ones, and so if there's anything different than that, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know, and then I'll just bring one of the other bigger ones that we have. So.
And Jose,
Awesome.
do you know for sure on your mule yet, if you've got it?
No, I reached out to JT, and I hadn't heard back quite yet, but I'll,
Okay.
I'll call
So
him.
this is where we'll flex. Once we hear about that, we'll either put Anna roving with Ryan, or we'll have Jose roving, because if he has mule access, then we can do Jose as the rover here. So, but otherwise, I was going to put Jacob Silva with me here at the other tent location, which is this one by the visitor parking structure. So that would be Lisa and Olivia over here, Greg and Jacob here. And then what I'm looking for is some other folks at these other tents. Is anyone particularly knowledgeable or aware of Logan Hall, the engineering side of the university? Speak now or not. Just looking for people's faces. I don't see anybody that's just like, yeah, I know that area really well.
I know where it is.
Know where it is. That's a good starting point.
I can read a map, so I'm willing to learn where things are over there, but yeah, I don't go to there.
Okay. So that's a piece of the equation that I think we have to get figured out. So I'm just going to ask so the other locations that we have, sorry, it's tough to share the screen and show people what's going on. So we've got this station here covered. We've got this station here covered. I need to cover 5 others, and we've got our rovers pretty much covered. So Rudy, you spoke of Logan Hall, but is there a place, do you want to do, can I put you at Union Square?
Sure.
Rudy and maybe Andrea? Is that comfortable to you guys?
Which one is Union Square? I'll go wherever.
So
I'll figure it
sorry.
out.
Up
Union
top
Square,
under the trees.
right here?
Yep, that's it.
Oh yeah.
Kind of where the old class crawl location normally is.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna put Rudy and Andrea here at Union Square. Over by the Einstein Bagel space. I'm just calling it Einstein Bagel. It's technically CTLB, and it's also Anderson School of Management, right here. Who else do we have here on the call? Sorry, it's tough. I can't see the screen when I'm sharing.
Gabby said she would do it.
Gabby, you're cool there? Because I could put, I could get Gabby and Jacob. Do you guys want to be together perhaps? That might be an easier switch. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Okay.
that.
So instead of putting Jacob here, I'll put Gabby and Jacob Silva. Okay. And then we've also got these other
Greg, did
places.
you match up Anna with anybody?
So this is a tough one. If I'm thinking if Anna's got the
We've got another work study coming in, so
Okay.
why don't you match up Maria with Anna?
okay. Cool, let's do that. Why don't we do, you guys want to be at Mitchell Hall, the center of the universe there, Anna?
Yeah, that sounds good. I kind of know where things are around there, so that's probably the best spot for me.
That's great. Okay, oopsies, Maria. I'm going to tentatively have Jose here as a rover then. And then, so the Northrop Fountain, so I've got Kayla still Kayla, can we put you here at Northrop Fountain? That would be, I'm so sorry, guys. It's tough to toggle back and forth sometimes. So the Northrop Fountain would be this location right here, if that's cool with you, Kayla.
Yeah, you can put me there, and then I know we're gonna have some orientation leaders as
Cool.
well, kind of help out. So maybe
Okay.
you can put me there with another orientation leader.
So I'm gonna put Kayla here with NSOL person.
Yeah, perfect.
And then for our Logan Hall location, why don't I put 2 other NSOLs maybe there? Does that sound good?
Yeah, and we can definitely relay that information to them.
Okay. And then with me, I'll put a ResLife staff member here at the visitor parking structure. So that should at least cover our bases, and we should be okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, total people. So thanks for the patience while we went through that. Now let's just go through the training portion. I'll send all the details out of where people have been assigned accordingly, and we'll just we'll do it there. If we have a couple of extra staff, we could always have, we can have an additional rover. We can have 3 people at a tent site, trying to keep it as low as possible. So no more than 3 people at a tent. Okay. So let me just go through this little training session for a second, guys. So we mentioned class crawl. You guys probably can't see that screen. Can you see one of the screens at least? Guys? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So sorry. I'm not used to doing dual monitors, so I'm getting extra. Okay, so when to arrive. So the recommendation is we do 8:30 to your designated spot. Those were just assigned. But the setup crew, if anyone is willing and able, I think we can use as many bodies as possible. I would ask if professional staff are willing, that we would meet in the Mesa Vista courtyard about 7:30. I know that may feel a little bit early, but so that we feel really confident, because we're going to have to go out to so many different locations, that'll give us some time to set up several different tents. That'll give us some time to set up quite a few of those satellite little projects, and just to make sure. So if you're comfortable, who would be willing to join for the 7:30 hour? Just by show of hands, if I can get those. Sure, I've got 3, 4,
Definitely have coffee with me.
5. Yeah, for sure. Coffee for sure. 6. Okay. I think if we had 6, we should probably be okay. So I've got, Lisa, Jose, Ryan. I've got Lisa, Jose, Ryan, Anna, Rudy, Andrea, myself. Is that plenty? Did I miss anybody? I don't want to leave you out, but okay. Just need to write those. Okay, one more time. Andrea, Ryan, Rudy, Anna, Jose, Greg, Lisa. Good? Okay, just show them. Okay, perfect. Sorry, guys. All right, continuing on. So that would be the 7:30 group that I just listed off. What to wear? Red Lobo gear and your mask. The reason why I'm saying your mask, even though we're going to have 1400, I think that the mask is not it's not my favorite mask that I own, so I'm going to wear a different mask. Be comfortable. Fortunately, because it's 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., it's not going to be extra hot, which is a great change this year. Reduced likelihood of rain in the morning as well. Forecast wise, things look okay for the morning on Sunday, so we should be in good shape unless something takes a turn, or if someone has seen something different than I have on weather for Sunday morning. I didn't see anything different, so hopefully we're okay there. Closed toe shoes, just because we're going to be moving some stuff around, but again, just wear a red something, like a red Lobo shirt. Since we didn't do a common shirt this year, we did masks. And bring your own mask, but if you don't, of course, there are tons of extras. So what's going to be delivered to the site? So everyone's been prepared and paired to a specific site. Now what's going to be delivered via the mule essentially will be the tent, table, and at least 2 chairs, and then a supply box, which I'll go through here in a minute. And it'll either be there before you get there, If you're arriving at 8:30, it might already be there and we'll just have to get it set up, or it might be set up. We'll just move through as quick as we can. But those are the things you should expect. What's in the box? So the packing list contains a big stack of maps. It's going to have some chalk in it as well, like line chalk for writing on the ground. Face masks, a little bottle of hand sanitizer about this big, ideally to be used by the staff working, just in case you were handing someone a mask or something, you managed to touch something or touch their hand or something. You've got like a private stash of hand sanitizer. We want to make sure you guys are feeling comfortable and safe. And of course, wear your mask all the time. There's a little roll of tape, and then there's a couple of those 8.5 by 11 social distance signs, just to remind people if they're approaching your mat or approaching the tent to wear a mask and keep social distancing. So hopefully you guys have seen those. That's what's in the box. So this is something that I'm open to some feedback on, but I think that the easiest way for us to do this, I would get concerned sometimes about, I could potentially go out and pre-chalk some of our locations, and I'm willing to do that. Just want to make sure that it's not going to rain on us and we have to do it again. So in the event that I can get out there and do some pre-chalking, I absolutely will. But take the liberty to use the chalk that's going to be in the box to space out some lines roughly 6 feet. Think of 6 pies. That's how I've heard of it, or 6 big footprints. It'll help people approaching the tent to space appropriately. So once we've got an idea of where your tent's going to be, just draw out about 6 foot social distance chalk lines. It shouldn't take more than about 3 to 4 minutes. If you have, concerns about, I have the worst back probably of anybody here. So just remember to bend at the knees, or actually that's not true. Just keep your legs as straight as possible and jerk really fast. I hear that's the best way to protect your back. So joking, don't take that advice, bad advice. So here's some stuff on instructions and expectations. So don't do anything that you're uncomfortable doing. When giving someone a mask, you could toss it to them gently. You can, if you must, hand it to them. I recommend just do a little toss, like keep it fun. If it hits the ground, it's their mask, a safer situation, or at least fully extend your arm, and ask them to do the same so that you've got safe social distancing. If something happens to touch, use your hand sanitizer immediately after. That's going to be provided. But that's kind of the idea. Be warm and kind. Obviously, you've all probably participated in class crawl. These are some of the most student-centered offices on campus, in my opinion. So obviously, everyone knows how to do that. But if someone's not wearing a mask, it's not your job to enforce it. Be kind. You don't have to confront. That's not necessarily your responsibility. But I've got some cool little suggestions and stuff. If you are the type that's like, hey man, this is something that I want to address, don't feel like you have to, but you're welcome to. And here's some suggestions. So this was from an NPR article that I recently stumbled upon. So this one in particular, I know it's probably small, but a good suggestion is do ask a person with, so that's not the one that I was looking for. I wanted this one. Use we and us language, right? So it shows mutual consideration. Hey, sir, can we please put a little space between us, instead of, hey, man, back off, perhaps. Excuse me, would you mind if we put, if someone gets a little too close to the table, for example, you could say, excuse me, sir, would you mind if we put a little more space between us, right? That might be a more positive way to frame that language. You are perceived as an authority person. These are just some different tips that I just captured. So hey, this is a great thing. I wanted to bring it to your attention. Were you aware that you're supposed to have a mask on? They may not have been aware. They may be from Timbuktu. They're not supposed to be from Timbuktu at this particular session, but just using some things like that. Were you aware that there's a mask policy? I'll give you another tip in the next slide. Do what you can to protect yourself. Obviously, it talks about turn away, step a few feet back. If someone's getting too close to the table, feel free to stand at the very back of the tent and use the table as a nice barrier between you and whomever. They're not going to come under the tent, hopefully, right? So if you want to, you can safely use the obstructors around you to create some additional space. That's what I would recommend. Don't feel like you have to police people. If you see a group of people that are not walking with masks, you could say, hey, would you like a face mask? Same deal, are you aware? But you could also just let them be. You're not obligated to have to be the mask enforcers while you're out there. Just make sure that you feel comfortable and safe. And if someone's infringing upon that, well, of course, those are things to be dealt with. Try not to lecture people. The mayor says you have to wear a mask. These are just some tips. So hopefully that goes a little bit of a long way. Here's an example of a script that we're planning to use with our mask ambassadors that I think is helpful. Like, hey, how are you? I'm such and such with you. I'm Rudy with UNM Student Activities. Wanted to let you know that it's required to wear a mask 100% of the time while you're on campus. We understand that wearing a mask is a personal choice. However, in the interest of keeping all the people on campus safe, we ask that if you and your entire party are able to wear a face covering, like you could say, I'd appreciate or we'd appreciate it. In fact, if you don't have a mask, here's one that you can utilize for today and all days while you're on campus. Thanks, like just some ideal language and stuff that you can use. No obligations, make your own style. I just don't want you, we've all been deprived of social interaction. So if you need a little prime, I think that that's what this is intended to do, is just to prime you up and think about how you'd have those conversations if you want to. But again, you do not have to do any enforcement of any kind if you do not want to. Don't feel like you have to. This is just the directive from campus that this is a synopsis, the SparkNotes edition of what Provost Holloway has said. All students are required to wear a face mask. State exception, students who do not wear a mask to a face-to-face class meeting, campus can expect to be asked to leave a classroom. So if someone asks you, right, because I can imagine that might be a question that might pop up. You're the first staff resource potentially that people are going to see on campus before school starts. So if they ask you a question about mask considerations and stuff, here's some stuff like, yeah, masks are going to be enforced. UNM is doing everything in its power to make sure that students remain safe. Obviously, there is a mask directive on campus. There's a mask directive for the state. And if students are really habitual violators, ultimately, there are ways that we can enforce their lack of adherence to the policy through the UNM Code of Conduct, right? So this is just little spark notes. If you get some crazy questions, hopefully not, but I do think it's inevitable that you might get some questions. So just mentally prepare to say, what would I say, right? Last but not least, if you're comfortable tearing down your tent, please take the liberty to just tear it down with I know it's a little hard sometimes with 2 people, but we should have rovers, and I think Ryan and Jose would be mindful about when we're about to finish up. But if you are comfortable tearing down the tent, please do. If you don't know how to tear down the tent, don't bother. Just wait for someone to come to you. We can leave the tent there, but be sure to take the extra masks, your supply box, and unused stuff to the Mesa Vista Hall courtyard. That's kind of like our rally point, right? Mesa Vista courtyard, because we're going to continue to distribute those at different programs over the course of the year. Okay, so that's the extent of the little quote unquote training that I am here to provide to you guys. Again, this video is recorded probably in really poor quality. But with that said, it's available to staff that might not have been able to be here today, or student staff. I'll put it up on YouTube following our little session and I'll send all participants in this meeting a direct link to the YouTube video. I'll send out this PowerPoint, and I'll also send out the Excel spreadsheet that dictates who's going to be where, basically, right? So on that note, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. We'll just do teardown immediately following the event, right? Excuse me. But let's take a second to just talk through anything that isn't clear. Hey, Greg, we didn't even talk about this, and this is important, or concerns, conversation that we just want to have before the event on Sunday. Floor's open for anything, right? Let's just talk it out. Go for it, Anna.
I just had a question about the masks. Are they individually packaged in plastic?
They're not. So that's, yeah, I'll show you what it looks like. So here is a box of goodies, right? So this is the packing list. It contains the tape, some of the masks. So the masks are packaged like this. We have plenty of masks. In an ideal world, they would be individually packaged, right? That is not how these came. We had no way of knowing how they were going to come, but they came. One thing that so that's why I say, I recommend just tossing it to the person, right? In fact, as I think about it, we could get some gloves. I can get some, do you think, I'm looking at Lisa, do you think I could borrow some gloves from down the food pantry and just throw these in the boxes?
I bet you could just have some gloves.
Have some gloves, cool. So I'll add that. That's a good consideration I hadn't thought of. So I'll throw
I'm
some
gonna try
gloves
to
in here.
slingshot them. Like,
Yeah,
Ooh.
slingshot them.
Good idea.
I think I found that these masks fit people with small head, with micro faces, micro heads.
Great.
Big dumb
Sign me
faces
up.
like
I don't
mine
know.
don't do so well.
So
uh,
all the siblings that are coming. Just
Yeah,
who aren't
it could
supposed
be
to be
siblings.
there.
And don't feel bashful. You know, you're gonna have a fixed amount of masks in here, but that's something that I'm gonna put in Ryan's rover abilities. We will exchange cell phone numbers morning of, or if you'd like, you can put your cell phone number in the chat real quick. I think I've got everybody pretty much here. But if you want to just put your cell phone number in the chat, if you're comfortable with that, I might need to get Kayla's. But we should be able to correspond, and we'll just, you know, make a quick phone call and stuff. But I'll put together a phone tree for everybody and put that in the box as well, so you know who to call for what if you need something.
Greg, I was just gonna say, and maybe I'm speaking for just Rudy and my tent, but probably more people here. Greg with the bad back probably doesn't need to go around and pre-chalk every single site. I'm fully comfortable chalking our own site. It makes more sense to put the table and the tent in place and then chalk out 6 feet. So as long as there's chalk in the box, don't worry about running around on campus and doing it yourself. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. Yeah, it shouldn't take too long. You know, it's a rough sketch, but it's just to incentivize and encourage some social distancing. There's one, so I'm going to include the gloves into the boxes and telephone numbers for everybody. So let me just make a note.
Greg,
then-
are you in the office today?
I am.
I'm heading there after we break from this. I can pull some gloves from the pantry.
Yeah, that's great. If you, well, I have the master key. I might, if you're okay with it, I could go down and just grab them
Oh,
and
that's
throw them
fine.
in boxes. Because I have meetings from 12, so I'm gonna have a half hour hopefully after we finish here.
Yeah, that's fine.
One last thing that I didn't throw out. So Lisa and Olivia, I perceive that there's kind of two ways that you can come on campus based on where the parking is located. So you have one extra responsibility at your location if it's possible. So based on where people are parking here and here, I'm assuming that there's going to be maybe there's going to be people coming in this direction and maybe this direction is the idea. So I'm going to give I'm going to put a little counter, a person counter in these two at this tent location with you and Olivia, so that you guys might be able to just count the number of people you have coming in. And then I'll have the same thing happen over here. And we'll, you know, just give us a rough idea, you know, try not to count people twice. It's an approximation, but that's really the only way, other than what we're going to try and mesh it with what Ryan Gregg has gathered through registrations for this event and just kind of see if we get close. But just the small form of assessment that we could do. So that's the one other thing that I forgot to mention.
I am going to be sending a direct email to incoming parents who've attended or participated in Family Connection when I get to the office. So that could increase some of that, hopefully.
You'll be able to indicate that it's in-state this Sunday and out-of-state next Monday.
Right. I'm going to share all the links separately, not just have them go to the page, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks for catching the mistake on the website too, Lisa. Appreciate that one. Other stuff we should talk about or concerns. You know, I want to be realistic. We've all put some thought into this. This is, you know, it seems like a pretty safe event given, you know, social distancing. All of the conversations that I've had with folks like Byron Piot from, he's the emergency manager. There's really no exposure if you maintain 6 feet. Both people wear a mask, especially with outdoor spaces. So I think that this is a pretty safe event. Should be a pretty safe event, but I do want, if anyone's got any major concerns that we should also take into consideration or address, you know, feel free to throw those out there, or other ideas like the gloves. That's a great concept. because they're not individually wrapped. Cool.
I have a question. Sorry, I don't know if this was touched based on, but we have 8 orientation leaders that are interested on Sunday. And so I know we have 14 spots. And so we have them on now that are, then they're asking like, hey, do we come or do we not come? And so my question would be out there, do we include a certain number? Do we need that many? Should we just continue on with the group that we already have here? Thoughts?
Sure. So the way, so I'm just showing, this is what I've tentatively got. This is probably the bare minimum that we should operate with. Wouldn't want someone to be at a tent by themselves, just in the event that they did have some jerk, you know, that you can have some backup. This is like this is the rough sketch, but I suppose, you know, we could have an additional rover. We could have additional people at the tents as well. You know,
or I could even say, come for tear down, and then they go and take down the tents and load up the room and things like that. So
that's a good idea.
Because if we have people at 7:30 in the morning setting up, and then we need some people to come back and tear down.
Sure. That is a great idea.
There are 8 that are interested in helping. So if anybody was kind of on the fence and they want to give up their spot, we have people. But ultimately, I just wanted to figure out with them what their task will be.
That's a great recommendation, because I think teardown is one of the things. Setup and teardown both give a little bit of anxiety, essentially, right? But I think if we had new student orientation leaders that were down and wanted to do some teardown with us, that would probably be a great use. They're probably coached up and understand how to work maybe they're not coached up how to use a tent, yeah, because they haven't been doing it all summer.
They could end a Zoom meeting, but maybe not take down a tent this summer.
Okay.
No, but yeah, they'll be fine in doing that. And so, or if we wanted to, then they could kind of be in the middle of the tents too, kind of just roving, kind of guiding people to the next tent if necessary. But we do have volunteers if necessary, but I could also tell them that they don't need help this week.
You know, that might be a way that we could reduce bottlenecks at tents, is just kind of having some students free roaming and just pointing things out. I think that if we had a couple of orientation leaders that were just kind of floating, not with the intended purpose of handing out mask materials from place to place, you know, we can reserve that for you and Ryan to run stuff back and forth. But if we had new student orientation leaders that were on campus, that were just kind of free floating, you know, they can walk away, they can, you know, approach people or point something out. How do you guys feel about that? Might reduce some bottlenecks. What do you think, Jose? Or yeah, Anna, yeah. So that's what I'll add an additional role here and call this like a floater, if that makes sense, Jose.
Yeah.
And we can just kind of have them congregate where we're going to see students, but not necessarily right by the tent, right? They can kind of be free and floating on campus to be helpful to people. Does that sound
so
like?
I could even have I could just have them like assign 6 people from 9 to 12, and then we could kind of put them where we need them.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay.
Did you see the question from Rudy? Would it be beneficial to have a dedicated mask handler for each tent? That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a solid consideration. Yeah. Yeah, so of you and your partner, if one of you was responsible for handling masks, that would definitely reduce. And don't be afraid to put hand sanitizer on over your gloves if you're wearing gloves. You know, it's still a safe approach if you need to, right? No, that's a good call. So we'll just identify. So if each of you should be at a tent. So we'll just try and get somebody who's going to have a conversation with your partner. The only one where we don't necessarily have an NSO, we don't have anybody that's here on the Logan Hall issue. So we'll get there.
Hey, Greg, really quick, I know I was at the fountain. Can you put Celestina there? And then Lisa's point too, what we could do is, since we have those NSOLs, we can have maybe an NSOL handing out masks.
Okay, so Celestina is going to be at Northrop, and Kayla, where do you want to be now?
Well, can you put me and Celestina
Oh,
there
sure.
together? Does that make sense? Sorry if I confused you.
No, that's great. That actually makes
And then
things
yeah,
easier.
at least it's a good point on maybe having an NSOL handout mask, and they have the gloves on, so then we're not contaminating anything else. Just an idea, yeah, you know.
Sure. The only thing, so the only consideration I want to take in, I'm hesitant to put 3 people under a tent because
Right.
they're only about 10 foot wide, right? So it's tough to social
True.
distance 3 people under there.
The whole concept to this was to limit the number of people that we expose from our staff.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And
Yeah.
especially students, because students primarily don't have health insurance and things if something was to go wrong. So I would personally like to limit student interactions if we can and things.
So the role of the floating orientation leaders is just to sort of be in the spaces in between the tents, just sort of helping guide people like from one tent to another.
Yeah, point from place to place. There's an information tent here. In addition, they're knowledgeable, right? So if someone asked a quick question, they could say, yeah, walk this direction. You'll probably see another information tent if you know. I think that might be a good mechanism. There's plenty of maps, plenty of masks. You know, I tried to concentrate more in Union Square, more in Lisa's, and more in the Cornell structure pile, just based on where people would be coming to campus, but we'll have plenty of extras. So
Right. It might not, although to Kayla's point, it might not be a bad idea to at least have, orientation leaders have like, maybe they have like 10 masks or something, and the off chance that someone just
Sure.
said, can I have a mask? And then they can give that, but the main place where they would get them would be our tents. I don't know if that seems like that would be too much, but it's just.
I think our original concept was to put the tents in areas that we could literally just point people to the next tent to get to the large majority of classes. So we minimize our interaction with people.
Okay.
So for instance, if they come in the Cornell one, we say, oh, you've got to go to Mitchell Hall, just head straight up this mall. You'll see another tent up there. That tent will send you down to the Mitchell Hall tent across Smith Plaza.
Okay.
So it's kind of easy directional pointing that we can do from the tents to minimize our interactions. So.
yeah.
So I mean, I understand that students want to help us and do those types of things, but I think we should really try to minimize the number of people we have. So, and I think my other struggle that I have with that is we tell students that are involved with student organizations, hey, you guys can't gather in groups that are larger than 5 and do events. And then, hey, we have class crawl. We want you guys to come and do community service there, and this event's bigger than 5. So we're being hypocritical with our students. So I really want to kind of minimize that if we can.
Okay, so so I know Jose's on a call right now with some of his staff, right? You're on a call with your staff?
So if everyone's okay with this, what I ended up doing, hold on, okay. So we'll have 3 people helping set up from 7:30 to 10, and they'll just be chalking and setting up tents and whatnot. And then we have 5 people that will come in from 10 to noon, and that will be kind of roving, but also helping us tear down and putting things away in the basement.
Can you say it one more time, not because I'm questioning it, it sounded perfect. I just want to make sure I record it right on my little calendar here.
Yeah, so I have Sarah, Daisy, and Eric that will show up at 7:30 and help us set up and chalk and get things out to everybody. And then they could be roving from 7:30 to 10. And then I have Marshall, Miles, John, Christian, and Marcella that will come in from 10 to noon, and they will help us do the teardown. And so they'll just relieve the rovers and then fill in those spots, but then helping us tear down and get everything into the basement.
Okay, yeah, so they'll primarily be concentrated on setup and tear down, but there won't be more than like 3 of them just kind of roaming around campus at any one time. Okay, that's a little lower for sure. Okay, is that comfortable? Guys? Cool. Okay, so I got Sarah, Daisy, and Eric coming in at 7:30 in addition to Rudy, Andrea, Ryan, Anna, Jose, Greg, and Lisa. And then in the afternoon, I got Marshall, Miles, and Jared. It's not afternoon, it's still morning. Second shift.
Marshall, Miles, John, Christian, and Marcella. and they could come and help us tear down and put everything up.
Okay, sounds great, guys. I think we're okay. I'm just going to share my screen one more time here, just to make sure that this looks good. And then I've got a couple more folks. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop. So I'm just going to put our volunteer core group right here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, stop recording.